Hey Film Buffs, welcome back to Film Feature 43. I have some questions about Stranger Things. Like, how is Papa still alive? Or should I say, why is Papa still alive? Because we see him being attacked by a Demogorgon, and everybody else who has come in contact with a Demogorgon has ended up dead. So, how did he come back in Season 4? Also, why is there no water in the Upside Down? We see the alternative version of the swimming pool that Barb was taken from, and the alternative version in the Upside Down of Lover's Lake, and there's no water in either of them, so what gives? Speaking of the Upside Down, why are they starting to have earthquakes there? And why is it stuck in November 6, 1983? And finally, where were the Demobats and Vecna during the first 3 adventures into the Upside Down? And why did Vecna wait 7 years to start killing teenagers in our world? Well, I have a theory that ties all these together and answers them, all except for the water question. I still don't have an answer for that, because we see the Upside Down actively avoid water in the first 3 seasons. It goes around lakes and streams, but in Season 4, we see it go after Steve in Lover's Lake, so that really doesn't make sense to me. It can't be a weakness, so I don't really have an answer for why there is no water, but if you do, let me know down below. With all that being said, let's answer some of these questions and get into my theory. So we hear Dustin say
only 2 gates have opened so far as we know.
The first of which is the one that 11 opened, which was the Mother Gate, when she came in contact with the Demogorgon, and the second of which is the one that the Russians used machinery to open up under Starcourt Mall. But he's wrong in that fact. The characters know of at least 5 gates that have been opened in general, or at least they should know about them. The first 2 are the ones that he mentions.
One by L, one by the commies.
The big permanent ones. But then there was the smaller one that Nancy went through in the tree when she came into contact with the Demogorgon. And then the one in the Byers' wall that Joyce took an axe to. And then the one that opened up in the school where the Demogorgon came out and killed all the G-men. So he's wrong in the regard that they only know of 2. But what's interesting up until this point where Vecna is opening up the mini-gates to kill all these teenagers is all the other mini-gates that we know of have been created by 11 or a Demogorgon, which tends to be a mindless creature who really doesn't have a plan for itself. It's just out to kill things. So how does this mindless creature have this power when we have seen smarter beings like the Mind Flayer or other Demogorgons or Demodogs not having the power to open rifts into our reality? I mean, we've only seen 2 other creatures other than this Demogorgon open up small portals like that. We've seen 11 do it when she came back into our world, or sending Vecna into the Upside Down, and Vecna himself, who has opened up these portals to kill these teenagers. So even if it is a very special Demogorgon who can open portals, or the fact that Vecna's in the Upside Down, why didn't the Mind Flayer use them to open a portal so he can infiltrate our world?
The Demogorgon was just his foot soldier. Vecna's his 5-star general.
What if I told you that everything we see in Season 1 through 4, from the opening of the Mother Gate to the last thing we see in Volume 1, was all part of Vecna's plan once the Mother Gate was open? We see that Vecna is the leader of the Hive Mind in Season 4, and the Mind Flayer's nowhere to be seen. And we have reason to believe that the Mind Flayer is more powerful than Vecna for the fact that 11 beat Vecna by sending him into the Upside Down, and it took almost everything that 11 had to beat the Mind Flayer. So we have reason to believe that the Mind Flayer is stronger, so why would it give up its position as leader of the Hive Mind of the Upside Down to Vecna? The answer is it wouldn't. Even though number 1 doesn't seem to be as strong as the Mind Flayer, he does seem to be a little bit more cunning. So what do you do if you have 2 people you have to go up against who happen to be stronger than you? You pit them against each other. And I think that's exactly what Vecna's been doing for the first 3 seasons of Stranger Things. So my theory is that 11 banished number 1, aka Henry Creel, aka Vecna, to the Upside Down in 1979. And there he came across the Mind Flayer, who is the leader of the Hive Mind and much more powerful than himself, so he went into hiding until 1983. And in 1983, 11 opens the Mother Gate by coming in contact with a Demogorgon, which catches the attention of the Mind Flayer, and he realizes that there's a whole nother world that he can conquer, but there's one thing that stands in between him and conquering our world, and that is 11. With the Mind Flayer distracted, this gives Vecna the opportunity to take control of a singular Demogorgon, opening up portals all through Hawkins, Indiana, trying to get 11 to show her real power, drawing the attention of the Mind Flayer even more, and hopefully pitting them against each other for one of his adversaries to kill the other. This is why the Demogorgon doesn't kill Brenner in the first season of Stranger Things, because Vecna wants that opportunity for himself. This man, Brenner, is the one who tortured him for 20 years of his life. He doesn't want him dying at the hands of a Demogorgon. He wants him dying at the hands of himself. And Vecna's plan works pretty well. 11 destroys the Demogorgon, which draws the attention of the Mind Flayer, who tries to kill 11, and 11 banishes him to the Upside Down. And that kind of puts a damper on Vecna's plan until the Russians come over and open up another gate, which gives the Mind Flayer access to our world again, once again attacking 11, once again getting banished back to the Upside Down. So that should be the end of the story. Vecna is still in hiding because the Mind Flayer is back in the Upside Down. But we see in Season 4, Volume 1, that the Russians have a Demogorgon in their possession. And in the trailer for the second volume of Season 4, we see this glass box with this floating, like, cloud in it that looks a lot like the Mind Flayer. So my theory is the Russians somehow got into the Upside Down with another portal and collected the Mind Flayer and entrapped him in our world. I believe that's why the Upside Down is stuck in 1983, because whoever the leader of the hive mind is controls everything in the Upside Down. So that includes the date and time. November 6, 1983 is when 11 opened the portal into the Upside Down, and that's when the Mind Flayer stopped focusing on the Upside Down and started focusing on our world here. And all this time was putting effort into interacting with our world, wasn't moving time forward in the Upside Down, so it kind of froze it. And once Vecna took over the Upside Down when the Mind Flayer was absent, he's not going to move time forward because he tells Nancy that he despises time and hates it.
A cruel, oppressive world dictated by made-up rules. Seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, decades.
So why would he move time forward? The Mind Flayer being trapped by the Russians outside of the Upside Down would also explain why the Demobats make an appearance, because their biggest predator is gone. It's kind of like antelopes coming back to a watering hole after the lions leave. The Demobats are part of the hive mind in general, but if they can get away from the Mind Flayer while he's there, they're going to do it. And now that Vecna's in charge and he has no desire to harm them, they're coming out to do his bidding, much like the Demo Dogs did for the Mind Flayer. And finally, that's why Vecna waited until 1985, 1986 to start killing teenagers, because there's no one else above him on the hive mind, so he can have free reign of the Upside Down. And unlike the Mind Flayer, he doesn't have to wait for Russians or 11 to open up a gate into the real world. All he needs is the small gates that he's able to open to go on his killing spree. Vecna's killing two birds with one stone. At first, he says that he's acting like a Black Widow spider.
They immobilize and feed on the weak, bringing balance and order to an unstable ecosystem.
But that's not the only thing that he's strengthening. He also says,
With each life I took, I grew stronger, more powerful. They were becoming a part of me.
So I think that's his endgame. He's going to go on this killing spree, killing the weak and absorbing their power until eventually he's strong enough to take on 11 himself. That's where the earthquakes come in. I don't think he realizes the more holes you poke through reality, the weaker that the barrier between the two is, and eventually it's going to collapse in on itself, mixing the Upside Down with the right side up, and that is where we're headed for Season 5, I believe. We're on a time clock. Not only do we have to save Max from Vecna and all the other teenagers in Hawkins, and we have to save 11, but we have to save reality as we know it, because the barrier between the two is getting thin, and eventually it's going to collapse in on each other, destroying one or the other. But that's my theory, and that's what I think. Let me know down below if you have any theories about what's coming in the last season of Stranger Things and the last 2 episodes of Season 4. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.